Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tat Chat number 102. Firstly, sincere apologies for starting a bit later today. Was meant to start at 5 past, which is later than normal anyway, but we've ended up starting 5 minutes after that. Mostly dinner related. I needed to eat dinner, so so apologies for that in advance. But welcome, guys. Like I said, the topic for today is what will reselling look like for you in 2018. And as usual, I have Nick here as well in the hangout. So, hi, Nick.
How you doing? Just
Very
getting myself organised.
oh, same.
You got to eat though. You got to eat. Where would we be?
It's just bad organisation, really. I hadn't got the timing right. So yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Lots of people I can see in the side chat.
Yep.
Shall I do a few hellos?
Yeah, definitely.
I think first in was Indie Chick. So fantastic. Beat Peter and bum crack to it.
I thought, yeah. Well, that's as far as we can see. So
well, yeah, I don't know if I can scroll all the way back. So that that might not be correct.
Exactly. Apologies if not, but hi, Indie Chick and Peter and
Richard's in there. Peter Cummins, Callum Tucker, Nate Dog.
Oh, Nate Dog, that's a great name.
All sorts of people popping in. So hi, welcome. So yeah, you've picked a chat, which I don't know if you saw our sort of, we did a kind of year in review hangout on the Sunday.
Oh, God.
That would be interesting to know what your opinion of how your year went and what you might change or do differently next year.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a bit behind on your Sunday chats the last couple of weeks simply because of walking the dog has now fallen into that slot. So we're having to rearrange it because it's been too cold to like comment and stuff while you're out and about. So it's phones in the pockets. It's an interesting topic from a number of perspectives, really. I mean, this year has been better than before, and that's the main thing. Like, I suppose we're in a very different position where obviously we're just in this is like the third year that I've been reselling in total. So it's from a starting point to a point where we have made money year one, more money year two, and even more money in year three. And obviously Beck came on board this year as well. So it's been growth.
Say that's actually pretty good when you think about the upheaval you had.
Yeah,
starting again in a new part of the country and all of that hassle that came along with that, and yet you still improved your business. So
well, yeah, sales over the year have been better, as you'd kind of hope. But I always like to kind of bear in mind that a lot of businesses, when they start, they don't always go into profit straight away. Sometimes you have to, go into, you have to put a lot of work in before you start seeing any return. So obviously reselling is a bit different than that because the outlay is negligible. I mean, you've just got your things like your eBay fees, your PayPal fees, obviously your tax and your shipping or whatever, but those costs are negligible when you don't have to worry about business rates and rental for a storage space or an office space.
I think you're right. I mean, reselling it's a bit of an anomaly when it comes to setting up a business because like you say, the costs involved in getting started are virtually zero, really, when you think about it.
Yeah,
most people already have a computer, already have most of the things ready, and the things you don't need aren't expensive. So you can hit the ground running.
Exactly.
So it's been great to see. I was just going to say, it's been great to see you guys get settled in and get used to trading from up there and making a success of it. It's been good.
Yeah, I mean, we're feeling kind of more settled. I mean, earlier this year was really touch and go. Since then, obviously, we've learned a few things that have helped us, and I suppose this is what we can take into the next year. And it's part of the topic on what will reselling look like in 2018. For when I say for you in the title, I mean like obviously for all of us, because it's hard to ignore some of the changes that are happening. And it's important to recognize that you have to be ready to adapt to them. So a great example, I mean, there's been two great examples of this really, just that came to my attention in the Tat Chat Facebook group. I believe it was Jay and Callum that posted up a screenshot which got a lot of attention, and it was actually from a charity shop which posted up a little sign specifically saying they don't support resellers.
Yeah, Andrea noticed that, and she told me about it. I only briefly saw it earlier. I haven't read all the comments, but yeah, it really whipped up quite a discussion, which is good to see, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a symptom, isn't it, rather than anything else. It's a symptom that it shows that clearly more and more people are getting into reselling, to which is people are noticing it more. So it's that, and you have to be ready for that. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It means you've got competition, more competition, but more competition, you can either shy away from it, or it can motivate you to do better than you were doing. Like personally, the way I like to see it is, actually, I want more competition. You almost want things to be more difficult to bring the best out of you, and that's the attitude you should have. Whereas some people will see the same situation and be like, oh my god, there's more people doing this, it's going to become harder and harder. But you've got to put it in the bigger picture. It's not, and this isn't another chat about just like, sharing and YouTube, but it's not just because, a couple of guys come onto YouTube and chat to what, like 100 people, if that, live, and that's going to suddenly change the national scene. I mean, just today in the chat, someone posted up that Toys R Us is facing collapse, that they might not get out, and that's possible loss of 3,200 jobs. Now, bearing in mind, Toys R Us probably don't pay very much in the first place, which would mean a lot of their employees would probably struggle, especially if they're living in the southeast, to live a decent standard of living on a full-time income from Toys R Us. And then you total the fact that they're now losing they could potentially lose their jobs, and they're not the first, and they're not going to be the last big company to shed jobs. Banks do it. They banks shut down branches all the time, and even branch workers in banks don't earn stacks of money. And you have to look at the picture and say, these people are probably struggling anyway with the pay they get. The pay that's being paid by the marketplace, it's not covering living costs. And then on top of that, if things like this happen, it's then just going to mean people need to find ways of earning income. And I think you've mentioned this before, that when the good times are here, you'll probably notice this will dip. Then, like, the number of people trying to earn money for themselves will dip, because the good times will be back, as it were. They'll feel wealthy again, or they'll feel.
Yeah. Well, going back to the first thing you noticed in the chat, that one about the charity shop, I still think that's the exception that's breaking the rule. Most charity shops are happy to sell to resellers. I mean, I can probably count 5 or 10 people who have contacts within charity shops who save stuff for them. And it's something that it's outside of my comfort zone. I don't do that. But I think it was an interesting discussion, but I think it was a little bit blown out of proportion. That's one charity shop who's decided to take that. But basically, if you haven't seen it, they put up a poster that says, you cannot buy more than 5 items of clothing or shoes. We do not sell to people who are going to resell it. And they blatantly targeted resellers, which is why it's a big deal and people are talking about it. But that is the exception. And I don't think we should worry too much about that. Plus, if you are a reseller in that area, go in there and buy 5 items at a time. It's not going to, you know what I mean? So I don't think that's a big deal. Going on to the other thing. What was the other thing we were just talking about? My mind just went blank.
The Toys R Us, yeah.
Yeah.
All those jobs going, and they're low paid jobs in the first place. And
yeah, well, the gist of it are more people getting into reselling, and will more people join reselling? I don't think more people are getting into it now than perhaps in the past. I think a lot more people are talking about it. Yes, it's on YouTube, but that's only a tiny part of it. It's trendy. Recycling is trendy. Making money from home is trendy. And the economics are pushing people towards it. But
I'd say the economics are. I disagree just a little bit with you there because I think the economics, like you said, I mean, the economics are pushing it because you do now have this, this vast amount of people that do a lot of jobs, such as your Hermes deliveries, your, working at like the Sports Direct warehouses. You've got Uber, which is humongous. Let's not underestimate the Uber thing. Amazon themselves offer an app where you can work on a per parcel basis. So like the so-called gig economy is here and it's real and it matches the marketplace. And because there's more people on that gig economy, they're going to need other income streams to make what they're making from those jobs
I think
more.
it's been growing steadily. That people wanting to make money on the side at home has been growing steadily. You look at the rise of like the Music Magpie, cash in your stuff. That started like a decade ago with the build of cash for your phones, cash for gold. People these days are very, very tuned into selling their stuff, and that's been growing. And then not just eBay, I'm talking wider. The rise of stores like CEX and cash converters, which are huge business nowadays, and people are quick to look at stuff they've got and cash it in. And I think eBay has been quite slow to capitalize on that personally. But now you've got the likes of Spock coming, and we're hearing from Steve and Steph in America, app after app coming out, directly targeting people wanting to sell their stuff to other people. I think the whole thing has been building and building. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes in 2018 and whether we get the influx of these person-to-person selling local apps as they are in the States, because I think that's something I'm going to look at a lot more.
I mean, you've always enjoyed like the local sale aspect as well because of that, I think, haven't you? Like you like being able to pick something up. I mean, that keyboard sale, I mean, even though it wasn't huge profit, what you loved about it was, like you said, the amount of what you were required to do was like
easy. And to be honest, I have dabbled, but I've never capitalized on it. I've not even used Spock yet, and I've only dabbled in Facebook selling. And because eBay is still definitely where I feel I'm most comfortable and I understand it and I feel safe, but the simplicity, the lack of fees, the speed of local selling, all of those things. You only have to watch Steve and Steph for watch a few of their videos, and you're like, hell yeah, there's money there. That it's like shelling peas. And I know they've got access to endless perfect stock for exactly that, but it reflects in what we're doing. A lot of the stuff you sell you could do well locally, the bulky stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's with everything. I mean, it's the key is always adaptation. How well are you going to adapt to these changes? I mean, it's kind of silly to expect it to be like it always was. Or to expect it to kind of like sometimes we get nostalgic, don't we, when we talk about going through boot fairs where people couldn't give away GameCubes and GameCube games. That we get almost nostalgic about it.
It's always fun to look back, and if you can work out where you've come from, you can figure out where you're going, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
but the thing is, there's probably an item out there right now that isn't a GameCube that is probably also sat there that most people are just walking past at £3.
Yeah, I mean,
and you just that's where the adaptation comes in, is knowing that okay, back then it was that, but now what have I learned from that, and what do I think is now out there that is plentiful. And there are ways of doing it. I mean, I can go to a boot fair, and thanks to a platform like FBA, I can pay so much more than most people are willing to pay for things. And that's because a platform like FBA can allow me to do that. For example, as an idea of adaptation, you can pay more for things if you know you can get more for them. Just little things like that, and plus, what is out there that's plentiful now?
I remember, I think it was a YouTube channel that no longer exists, or it was a Facebook page or group. There was this guy back in the time when GameCubes were still readily available and you couldn't sell them. They were worth pennies, and people would just take the controllers and sell them, and the cubes themselves were just rubbish. There was a guy back then who was stockpiling these things. He saw how much SNESes were worth from when they were like what 15 or so years old at that point, and he was stockpiling stuff, and he was doing it with PS1s and all sorts. I don't even know the guy's name, but I think it was a YouTube channel he had. And that's thinking ahead. And now I guess it's going to be PS2, and then it's going to be Xbox 360. Not all games, obviously. Don't start hoarding games, people, but certain ones that are still readily available now are the collectibles of the future. And if you can stay ahead of that, then you've got it made. But
And
not
then
easy.
especially if you can expand that to whatever niche you're interested in, don't, often you'll hear a lot of us guys talking about video games and electronics, but that's simply because, as cliched or as stereotypical as that is, that's what a lot of guys are interested in. You ask them, what do you like doing? It's, I like playing games or messing with hi-fi or electronics. That tends to be the standard answer. So you'll find that if you're watching a lot of YouTubers or whatever, it's going to be those things. Or you might get hobbies and things like antiques and trains and models and modeling, that kind of thing.
You're absolutely right. I think we often use the gaming market because
Yeah.
it's kind of like a touchstone that we can all understand that, and we've seen the cycles come through. Lonnie makes a good point that he thinks PS2 may be a little different because they sold so many consoles. That is true, but the rise in the price of those is already happening. And I'll tell you why, because they break, because they're not as solid as Super Nintendos. They're not as solid as, you know what I mean? So if you become a collector now and you want a PS2, at least 50% of them died. You know what I mean? I think so. Yeah.
And especially if you get boxed and whatnot as well, right? I mean,
box PS2, yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
sold up at Amazon actually. I sold a Slimline for what I thought was silly money. I can't remember what I got, 60 quid or something for it.
I mean, exactly. I mean, but that's an example, isn't it, of being able to adapt. And so, for example, if you were going to a boot fair and someone's asking you 15 or 20 quid for a PlayStation, someone that's limiting themselves to one platform. So, for example, if you just limit yourself to maybe Spock or your local Facebook page or just eBay, you're going to have a rough idea what you got for the last one. And then maybe £20 is too much to pay for you. But if you can potentially at Christmas get like 60 or something, it changes your decision a little bit, doesn't it? And that's the kind of adaptation you've got to go for. I mean, and the other thing we noticed, touching on what you mentioned about us obviously moving up here and going through like a lot of that upheaval, and to be fair, we're still, there's still parts of it we're still dealing with. So the costs, for example, we're still dealing with some of the debt from making a move when, because I remember saying this when we moved, we were like, but we can't afford to move. And then at the same time, we were saying, but we can't really afford to stay here either. So it was like, we felt like we were in this really, we felt like we had to do something, and we moved. And, but that did bring up its own challenges for us, as you guys know. And one of the things we learned over this year definitely is the way we source change when we moved up north. Down south, I mean, again, I don't know if this is rose tinted spectacles or not, but it's, I remember it as being very plentiful in comparison. And funnily enough, even this haul that we got was from Croydon, which is like over 200 and whatever miles away from me. Even this haul, just to put it into context, is our best haul ever, which we got all this model and RC stuff from, was all the way down in Croydon. So we learned a painful lesson because we wanted to carry on doing what we were doing, which was just going to car boots. The majority of my stock down south was from smashing car boots. Like, I was always motivated to be at the front of the queue. Like, I'd be there at like 6 a.m. queuing in the, for the start of the boot fair, which wouldn't start till 6:30 or whatever. And that's how we did it. But then we moved up here, it didn't work. It just didn't work. We kept on going to the boot fairs, but we just weren't coming back with the stock we needed on a consistent enough basis. And I think,
do you feel that you've got it on an even keel now? Do you feel confident going into 2018 that how you're going to source and what you're going to source, or is that still
no, completely confident now. And the reason is because I think me and Beck have spoken about this already, and we're like, for us, it just doesn't make sense um, to risk this is going to sound crazy to some people, especially if you're in the southeast. But for us now, going to a car boot as our main source of stock is now almost a risk because they're not particularly close, and you don't know what you're going to get. And it's the same with charity shops. You know, like people drive to the local town and hit all the charity shops. Our local town is still a good half-hour drive each way. So there's like an hour in just traveling. Then, not to mention, you still don't know what you're going to find. And what we have seen is we didn't often find enough. So
what's the strategy going to be then if that's not working?
It's not that it's not working, is that it's moved down the pecking order. Do you know what I mean? So like, whereas down south I could happily source enough quality stock from car boots and car boots and boot sales, and you know, that's now moved down. And even auctions up here, they're not as good. They're just not. I just don't, from what I've seen, like, they're okay, but there's like nothing special. Like, you know, I suppose you can only make do with what's in front of you, right? And that's what it is. But what we've learned
depends what you're looking for, because I mean, you know, there's, if you're into maybe antiques or collectibles, that sort of stuff,
yeah, exactly,
that's where it's at in your
exactly.
areas. But yeah, I just want to
it's
say
just moving down the ranks. That's all. It's
before it scrolls away. Krillin has super chatted you $5. He says, "Do you guys think about buy hold strategy? E.g., I've been holding Valiant com books until movie releases. I sold first Deadpool 2 fast. Now sells up to 1,000.
Wowzer.
I haven't tended to play the buy stuff and hold it, like buying Lego sets or holding on to certain computer games or stuff, because I don't know. It's never been a strategy I've taken on. I mean, I could take that too far and just become hoarding and hoarding and hoarding. I used to collect a lot of stuff and enjoyed it, but there's no denying it totally works. And we were talking earlier about video games, and this guy that I remember was hoarding Game Cubes, and he's probably cashed them all in now and made a fortune. Right now, thinking back to that conversation, the console is Wii. You see Wii consoles everywhere. Give it another 5 or 10 years, you'll be able to cash those in for way more than you can now. So
Yeah.
if you've got the money and you've got the space, why not just stack up 100 Wii consoles that you can pick up and forget about them? But it's not something I'm doing, Krillin.
I think that's just it. I think it's just what you've pointed out. I mean, thanks, Krillin. Really appreciate the super chat. But that's a really good point that you've made there. If you've got the space, you know, if you've got the space, and that's the key. When I think of buying and holding, immediately I would be thinking of assets which don't physically take up any room. So, you know, it makes more sense for me to hold a stock in something, or, you know, because you can afford to hold that. There's no space cost to it. But if you suddenly start you know, for example, doing Wii consoles, or anything really, anything physical items have got a number of, you know, issues. For example, you know, obviously storage is one. You know, just the fact that if they're electrical, you know, are they still going to work like they used to work? I don't know. It's if you've got the space, then obviously great, and some people do that. So you know, it's just
I want to say quickly before it goes again. Kirsten says, "Evening, can't stay, but wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas." So happy Christmas, Kirsten. Hope you have a good one.
sure.
And Sue's just, oh no, Sue's wishing Kirsten a Merry Christmas.
Yep,
Anyway,
Christmas, Merry Christmas to you, Kirsten, and everyone else in the chat. Southwest Seller says, go to one auction every 2 weeks, gives me $2.5 in sales every month on eBay, and keeps a small booth going. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, guys. I'm not saying that auctions are bad. It's about a pecking order for me, right? Like, I have got expectations, and not just expectations. I know what I can do, right? So, like, I know what I like to do. I know what I can do in terms of picking up inventory and what I like to sell, what I think is good value. Everyone's idea of what's good value will differ, right? All that's happened is, since we've moved up here, and especially this year, we've had a number of larger deals, right? There was a big electrical deal, there was the house clearance, and then there was this shop clearance, basically this model shop clearance. And we are just now feeling that, and also watching Caroline do so well with the BHS, watching you, Nick, do well with a couple of huge pickups as well. That's just it further kind of cemented how we feel about it, that at the moment number one for us is going to be, in terms of efficiency, is going to be hauls. Because you know what, if you spent a solid month, maybe even, all right, just traveling up and down the country, and you know, your search area should be the whole country, you might have to go that much farther to find stock, and you may have to, you know, look that much harder. But once you've done one of those deals, you're talking about potentially a quarter of your year's work in one go. You know, we've not felt the need to go out to a car boot or a charity shop, and we still don't, because we've got so much stock that we've got to hand.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think we discussed this. I don't know if it was on air or not a while back, but a haul like the van load I had, for example,
Yeah.
that would have been worth me driving to Scotland and back for
Comfortably. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And staying in a hotel overnight.
Yeah, exactly.
Overnight. Because that has netted us easily 10 grand, if not nearer 15. I'm not sure of the numbers in profit. And it's like, if that, I mean, it was quite a bit of work at the time, emailing and phoning, and it took me a couple of weeks to work it out. It's quite stressful and stuff. But looking back, that was a cinch. That was just, you know what I mean? And I think we've both kind of come to the same conclusion, that it's worth putting in the man hours, traveling as far as you like to pick up a haul, if you think it's got that sort of value in it. Although interestingly, where are you at on the big hauls? Because you had a big wobble with your RC.
I did have a
wobble or not?
I did have a big wobble, and actually, I think it's someone's just mentioned. I think it was Richard Hale, maybe. Yep, Z, you got bored with the RC stuff, so you're sure that hauls are good for you. I'm back on listing them. I've actually got a box of it down here by my feet, and I think that has passed simply because I've got Beck with me now, and like, because we're focusing on one store. Since Beck's come on, we've actually been churning through a lot more. We've got more defined roles within, and it's made the task seem infinitely easier. Like, I think it was just because I was doing it by myself, it just got to the stage where it just became overwhelming. I know that sounds really stupid, but it's just it.
And I'll tell you what, I think when you mentioned, you know, that slight shift recently, it just went, that's perfect, because I think, you know, you both have your strengths and weaknesses. And the moment I think you went, okay, we're going to play to those, it just made sense when you were saying it. It's like, and you just repeated it, and it's like, that makes perfect sense. You know, Beck's organized, she's perhaps more efficient at listing or whatever.
And she hates photographing.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you manage that side, and then you could be hunting for the hauls and taking the risks, which, you know, you're similar to me. You love that gamble, that hunt, that whole side of it. And I don't know, it's just, yeah, I can see
backup as well, don't you? Because it's like, I think I can take those risks because I know Beck will be able to judge whether it's a silly risk or not, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not a completely I'm not like let loose, if you know what I mean, to just take, you know, to take any chance I want, because I've got that voice. She's like the voice of reason, you know.
Yeah. Like, yeah, but I think what you do have is that hunger to look for it and find it, and you know that, you know, which I'm not trying to put Beck down in any way here, but that's more your forte, and it certainly is with Andrea and me. I'm the one that's coming up with these deals, finding this stuff, and that's my big strength, I think, in what we do.
Yeah, you've got to look at strengths and weaknesses, definitely. I mean, and by doing that, it's just made it feel infinitely more like achievable, and we can break it down that much better. And so it just feels like it's more efficient to do things that way. So going forward next year, that's probably going to be our preferred method. Now, that's not to say that we'll find anything, but you know, if your search area is the UK, chances are you'll probably find one or two things. And if you think about that over a year, that's probably enough, because you look at, you know, that can be quite a nice platform on which you can then go to auction, and that's a nice platform on which you can then go to the car boot, get lucky, and get a nice pickup at the weekend, just to add on to it.
I think it will help, because also from our point of view, we'll touch on kind of our year in a sec. And I was just thinking the big thing, the big change for us this year was that we stopped buying and we tried to clear. And that has set us up for next year, looking at more halls and having the space to handle it for a start. And like you say, I think it's perfect in a way, because let's say you do manage to bag a big haul early on in the year, you can work through that throughout the year, but you don't have to stop going to boot sales, but you won't have the pressure of thinking, I need to fill the car up, I need to score every week.
Correct.
But I tell you what, I am craving
Yeah.
resources.
And
I am itching to do a haul video. I mean, you know what I mean? So that's not going to stop for me.
I also feel that I also feel like, you know, when you said like takes the pressure off you, I also feel that when the pressure's not on you, things fall into place better. Like if you're going to a boot field with no pressure, how many times have we've both made videos like this? Oh, we didn't really fancy going, but we thought we'd just pop in, got there at 10 o'clock, and boom, I found this. You know, things fall into place for you, don't they? And that's not luck. That's kind of, you create that situation where you're going in relaxed, kind of like when, you know, when your kids are taking exams and they're saying how stressed out they are, and you always, one of the main things that you say to them is, you're not going to perform well if you're stressed out like that when it comes to the test. You're better off just relaxing and taking it as easy as possible. You know, like teachers always tell kids not to just cram revision the night before, because it's not an efficient way of doing things, right? And in the same way, I suppose, if you're going to a boot fair without that pressure of, you know, if I've got to get this week's inventory.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. I was just thinking back to sort of this time last year. We were saying we did have this plan to downsize the stock, but we also wanted to get back into going to auctions. We haven't even visited an auction. We've had the whole year, and that never happened. And other things that we did set out just never panned out. It's interesting that I think it is great to have a goal and have some plans, but understand that you may veer off on a tangent, and we certainly did, but we're not beating ourselves up about it. And we're really pleased actually with the year, because going back to the not buying for the vast majority of the year, that saved us so much money that although our turnover this year won't be anywhere near last year, net profit wise, we're probably about the same.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that's panned out. But yeah, I'm excited for next year. I certainly am. Got a few other things that we got planned as well. So it's going to be fun.
And it's always that's the thing. It's always worth, you know, you've got to have something to look forward to, haven't you? So setting yourself out these goals, like for example, you guys do want to check out more auctions, or start to check out auctions, you said, didn't you? So something that you're going to look to maybe.
Yeah, we might still dabble in that. We don't know. I'm struggling to find a decent one locally. I was just reading Graham's question. Graham Nichols says, question, Nick, did you know how much you had invested in the shelf stock, or did it surprise you once you emptied the shelves? I had no idea what was there, really. It's just an accumulation of stuff I didn't want to deal with. So yeah, it's been interesting. And what's been interesting is that how quickly a lot of it sold. You know, within days, a lot of the stuff that had sat there for, in some cases, over a year, or in the case of the loft, multiple years.
I mean, that reminds me of that train set thing that you said, when you put it on and it sold for like 60 quid straight away, and you just left those bits sat there.
I must have moved that crate of Hornby stuff like 50 times at various places around this office. Oh, I'll deal with that next week. Deal with that next week. Put it on 60 quid within like a couple of days. Madness. But we shall see where I'm at this time next year, whether I've accumulated another massive backlog.
Well, these are just plans, aren't they? So
it's something to aim at, and I'm not expecting myself to meet all of these targets I set or achieve all of these goals. You know, it's not.
But you got to try these things. Keith Dalton says, "Yeah, have you seen the Cincinnati Pickers pallet haul?" I've not seen that yet. No.
Oh, he got a huge haul of media. I've not been tuning in a lot recently. I haven't had the time, but I don't know how many pallets it was, but tens of thousands of media items like CDs, DVDs, games. And I spoke to him because I was on the Six Pack on Sunday, and he mentioned it briefly. I think he's on the fence as to whether it was a brilliant deal, or it's doing his head in and he never wants to do it again. Kind of at that tipping point. So yeah.
Okay. Just going into this chat, oh, I've got a bit of chat about 360s. Graham Nichols was offered 1,000 Xbox 360s, and he doesn't want to sit at the workbench until the sun calls to refurbish them.
Yeah, that sounds like a personal night. I hate those machines with passion. The old, what was it, yellow ring or was it red ring on them? I can't
Red
remember.
Ring of Death.
Oh, good Lord, those things.
I mean, I remember they actually changed the motherboard for you for free within, like, it was even after a certain amount of years. I think I got mine changed, and it was like 2 or 3 years old at that point.
Yeah.
And Microsoft they took it back and changed it because it was such a big hoo-ha about it.
Because we used to, that was kind of the big console when we had the gaming store. It was all PS3 and Xbox 360, and we used to do a huge trade in second-hand ones all the time. The amount that we had issues with, we didn't give a particularly long extended warranty, but we offered that, and the amount that came back. And then we struck up a like deal with a firm who would resolder, do the whole reset thing and whatever, and customers would bring their faulty ones in, and we'd take a fee and we'd get a cut in the firm, and the amount of hassle that led to, because they never stayed working.
No.
And then we were the port of call for the complaints, and it was like, no more. I hated those machines. Anyway.
Will you take less has a good point. It says, I think doing big haul / house clearance, it gives you items you don't normally sell, and in turn gives you extra sales outside your comfort zone. I think that's a very good point. That's one thing I've definitely found is you're selling things that you wouldn't have normally thought of perhaps selling when you get these deals. And it's like a great way of learning about.
The one that I think, looking back on the year, I mean, obviously the computer games one was epic, and I'm probably never going to repeat that, but that little haul I had from the woman I got chatting to, and I basically cleared her shed, that opened up so many sort of areas in my brain to capitalize on. And I learned so much from doing that, because virtually everything I picked up from her I'd never sold before. There was the bike where I had the dodgy outside of eBay problem, the skis, one pair left. I managed to UPS a pair of skis today, skis I'd never sold before, loads of power tools. I didn't even know what half of them were. It was like, yeah, epic. I learned so much from taking that risk.
And another great comment from Will You Take Less question: has anyone had cards or flyers made, and did they work? I remember talking to you about this months ago.
Yeah, I haven't.
Neither have I.
No, this is guys watching this. We're sitting here saying what we're going to do next year. Don't expect everything to happen. We did, of course, make these. Andrew got on the case and made these ones, which are really cool. We put these in with not every order, but a lot of our orders, just to thank them for their custom and point out that we're a small family business, and give a link to our store and stuff.
Oh, but that's like in the package. That's like after the fact. Yeah.
No, for the random guy you meet at a car boot sale who might have a shed full of gear, I need a card to whip out and just say, I've got cash waiting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I should just put on it. I've got cash waiting. I want stuff.
That's it. That's I buy anything. Definitely. I think, you know what, that is something that has been talked about by a lot of people, and especially like I think one of the biggest fans of talking about it is Golden Finger Picker over in the States. He's a huge fan of the whole, promoting yourself. Like he says, like when they eat breakfast at a cafe, they'll give the card to the waitress along with the tip. So because you don't know what that waitress might be stashing.
I know, and he is proof that just getting the fact out there that you are somebody who will buy stuff for cash, because that's basically all he's promoting, is letting people know what you are and what you do. And we've talked about this, how we've been shy about coming out that we're resellers, and sometimes it backfires if you do. And he's like, sod it, it works for him. And he's had some amazing deals, because a friend of somebody who had a card got his number and said, do you want to come around and buy all this Vietnam gear?
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah. So yeah, it does work.
To take from that as well is
Lonnie says Chad is trying to pick up waitresses, ? Don't tell him whatever you do.
Another thing to take from that though is he's done this twice now. So once where he was originally base, and then they moved to where they are now, didn't they, in Florida? So they moved, like, I can't remember where they moved from, but it was somewhere cold, and then they moved to Florida, and it, they've, obviously completely different place. Like it's almost like a different country from our perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of
Well, that's it. And he's managed again to become the go-to man
yeah,
for whatever it is, for selling that stuff when you need some money. And
you
yeah,
want to be that guy, don't you? You want to be that guy, and I think that is such a great thing. That he's talked about that and shared that, and again, and it's actually another great example of hearing it and learning about it is one thing, but unless you're actually going to take action on it, I mean, we're sat here like months later still having taken no action on what we learned there.
yeah.
um
My excuse is I was trying to clear out stuff this year. See, I didn't want lots of stuff. That's
yeah,
my excuse.
yeah. That's a good,
Karen was in the chat. I just want to say a quick thanks to Karen. She knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's fascinating. Talking about looking back on the year, should we talk a little bit about YouTube and how that has been epic? I mean, you guys, your channel is blowing up. We're pushing 15,000 subs. We've spoken to some amazing people. It's just been, yeah, a fantastic year for YouTube.
YouTube. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? I think that's the main thing. I mean, like, it's like you said, channels are doing really well. They're really popular. It's, I think, spawning the Tat Chat group. I think that's been one of the best things this year as well. I mean, that has just really been fantastic. A lot, the guys that are in the chat right now, Karin, Lisa, Fen, Reselling Polly, Crispy, so many people that are regular names, and for us all to have like that place to go and just continue the this kind of chat. And it doesn't always have to be reselling related, it can just be some chat. I think that's been one of the great things to come out of it, like with the growth of the channels. And
I see that. I don't dip in there that often, to be fair, because I'm so busy and I'm trying to limit Facebook, as you guys did a while back and still are.
Still doing it.
But it's like we do have that as a community. We have that little water cooler place because there's always someone in there who will respond to you.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm kind of using it for now. I like to go in there. I think I'll spend a quarter of an hour and I'll read some posts and I'll say hi to a few people. And sometimes that's all you need to kind of relieve that social desire. Then you can get back to work. So yeah, that's been great.
And I think it's I suppose it's just part of it all, though, isn't it? I mean, it's now become almost part of the whole reselling side of things. I mean, like you said earlier, like you're itching to do like a haul video. It's, you almost want to go out and do a car boot so you can do a haul video.
Yeah, definitely. Oh dear.
We've actually got 126 people watching, which is absolutely fantastic. So thank you everybody for popping in. Really appreciate it. This chat has been amazing. We're on number 102 now. So it is big pats on the back, I suppose. And I think it was really nicely mentioned in the chat. Actually, it was Graham Nichols, wasn't it, who started the post about saying a big thank you or a big shout out. And it's just so
I was really quite touched by that. It's when you actually hear somebody thanking you for what we do, it's like it makes it
and
brings it home the effect we can have and the help we can offer.
Exactly.
Because sometimes we probably both have the same thought, like, are we actually helping people? We're just randomly waffling at each other for an hour every Tuesday.
Doing the stuff we're talking about. Like, I'm just mad now about my lack of business card. Like, why have I not done that? Did I not have long enough?
Okay. How long are we going to give ourselves then? What, till the end of January? And if we haven't done it, there's going to be a forfeit.
No. Let's not get into that.
Is that long enough? How long do you want?
I'm not getting into forfeits.
Make a damn business card then.
Well, we've got something coming up in May as well that we should probably mention. As we're approaching near the end of the chat, we're going to be busy in May, aren't we?
Yeah. We are. Oh God, I've almost forgotten it's happening.
Uh,
We've not been training half as much as we should. I know you guys are on it, but we've been out like barely once last week.
that's a flaky thing to say. I think we're just walking the dog a lot. That's all. It's not training. Training is
It's walking. Walking is training.
it's not really. I mean, you're stopping every 5 seconds. You know, it's like just it's just.
But yeah, for anyone watching who doesn't know what we're rambling about, Zahir and Beck came up with the idea that as the four of us, so Zahir, Beck, myself, and Andrea, we're going to go and do what's it called? The moonwalk.
Moonwalk, yeah.
Not as in Michael Jackson walking backwards.
I'd prefer to do that now.
we're going to walk a full marathon through London through the night next May. So yeah, and it'll be interesting because none of us are particularly fit.
No, definitely not. Least offenses, I don't resell, but I love the community. That's fantastic, and that's exactly what it's exactly what the chat promotes and what the chat group promotes as well. And hopefully going into next year, it will just keep growing and will keep becoming a nice welcoming place where you can just come in, have a chat about something, and just, leave it at that, really.
Yeah, ask a question, share something that you're excited about, whatever it is. Actually, Jay and Callum, I don't know who's posting. It's probably Jay, actually. I think Jay does a lot of the posting. Says the group has been amazing. It's just a nice, friendly community, and I think that's why the group is so successful. People feel comfortable to post without judgment, me included. Oh, it is Jay. She signs off as Jay.
Yeah, I mean,
that was the aim, and I'm humbled that it actually worked.
Well, it's another great example of Jay citing us as positive influences and then going and doing something which is amazing and is definitely going to be inspiring and having a positive influence on us and on lots of other people. I mean, after seeing their Amazon merch performance, who wouldn't be inspired by that?
You can't deny those numbers. You know, there's no when it's black and white on the screen, it's like, okay, yeah,
got to do something about this. Maybe we need Jane Callum to get some business cards made. We can see them. Like,
what? And get inspired by them.
Yeah, get inspired by it.
I'm going to get mine done and put you to shame.
We're going to put on it.
I have cash.
I have cash. Cool. Yeah, but that can.
I buy stuff. I have money. Here's my number. Actually, Tom had one made up. I don't know what he put on his. I'd have to ask him. I didn't ask to look at it when I went and visited. Yeah, I know Tom got one made up.
Did he? I need to see. What does his say?
I can't remember. I think he did share it, but I can't remember what it said. But yeah, okay. That's one definite. Then we're doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Lisa says, "What could possibly inspiring about your prancing around London in a bra?" I'm sure there's something in there that will be inspiring. I can't even think of what it is.
It'll be entertaining, if nothing else.
Yes, and it's for a good cause.
Oh, hang on. Lonnie says Nick's card is going to say "mug me." Well, yeah, if it says "I have cash."
Yeah, I have cash.
Yeah.
Okay. Crispy says, I seem to be getting sales, but not expecting any after today. Oh yeah, we'll just quickly touch on that. Yeah, sales have been sales have been just really random recently, like not very good. The last week has been a big drop for us in the amount of money we've been taking compared to the last few weeks. I suppose it's partly to be expected, but the
kind of focus drifts, doesn't it? At this time of year, people are thinking Christmas, Christmas, Christmas.
Yeah,
and unless you're providing that, yeah, you're going to see a dip.
Exactly.
Ours has just been ticking along.
I thought we would have the models and we've sold a few of those, but yeah, we're selling stuff that definitely isn't giftable stuff. I mean, unless one-way bearings and things count as gifts.
Well, if that's what you want for Christmas, that's what you want.
Bearing, please. Yeah. Z
I just want to read quick. Oh, go on. You do that.
Is it merch t-shirt? What can you give me for under £10?
Oh, that's dodgy.
Yeah, that is a bit.
Polishek has put a lovely comment in. He says, "I will always be appreciative for you guys. You made me think things a different way, and people like that are ultra important. One decision can change your life." Yeah,
Wow.
and it is humbling. We've all been touched by various people on YouTube and influenced. That sounded wrong. and yeah, it can change your life, definitely.
Yeah, it's I mean, again, like, in a way, talking about what we're going to do next year is nice because it's a humbling topic in itself, because no one really knows. I mean, you have like ideas, but it does expose like a vulnerability in, in all of us, that, just because of resell, when you're earning your own income, not just reselling, but just when you're earning your own income, you're only as good as your last paycheck, aren't you? I think that's the thing. So, like, like the thought of having to go out all over again to find another big haul, or the thought of going out again and finding great stuff at car boots, like you said, like every year you start the year thinking, what if I don't get anything this year?
Yeah, that fear comes back. But also, I think because we are earning our living and we know we have to make that money to pay the bills, etc., it's hard to shift your focus because that works. And there's this fear that I've had over the years sometimes of changing things up when you think, this is working. If I lose my focus on that and try and get this going, instantly you see a drop here. And I've seen that with Amazon and eBay now, and I juggle the two and it kind of works out. But yeah, there is a fear of, if I drop the ball over here, and I know that works, maybe I should just stay here and do this because this is working. And yeah, it's not easy. And
No,
when you are relying on that X amount of money a month,
to
yeah,
take time away from what is working for
what
you.
works? Yeah,
And then to put it into something that's not necessarily going to immediately.
exactly. Change can be frightening,
Yeah.
but it can also be incredibly profitable.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, for example, a great example of that is like, at the moment, especially when sales are low, you just want to work more on eBay because, like you said, we know it works, right? Now, but the right thing to do would be to say, well, actually, we've got between us more listed than we've ever had listed, between what's still left on Beck Store, which is still selling some stuff as well, which is cool. She's been putting stuff on sale and the sale's been really working. And then we've got obviously stuff listed on our store. We've got probably about 1,400 items listed, which is more than we've ever had listed, right?
Mm.
And then we're still having these kind of little rough patch, which I know at the moment can be attributed to that Christmas time, but the natural thing is to go, oh, things are slow, let's get back on it, let's start listing more, let's start really putting some more work into something you've already done the work in. But the right thing probably to do would be to put that work into, for example, merch,
Mm.
but it's so hard to do when you've not seen a single t-shirt sale, you've never sold a t-shirt.
That's the rub, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to put for the next week, I'm going to concentrate on this.
Yeah.
And then you don't know if your designs are going to sell. You don't know if you're going to have any success. So it's a leap of faith. And everything we do being
Yeah.
self-employed, it's got that element of leap of faith in it. And that never gets any easier, you know?
That could change.
I just want to read a couple of comments quick. Silver Hair Stacker said, my philosophy has always been, I can always learn from anyone, with a caveat, even the British.
Okay.
I love that. And then Simon Mitchell says, Nick and Z, Tat Chat is very interesting. No, the Tat Chats are very interesting and informative with a laugh thrown in. It helps to focus on work more easily. Thanks, guys, and Merry Christmas. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, Simon.
And I like, will you take Les's idea for the business cards? Clear out, cash in, give me a ring. I buy unwanted items for cash. See?
Yeah. Nice and simple to the point. Yeah.
I'm writing that down. I'm literally writing that down. I like that.
Yeah, there you go. Pete's Retro Collectible says, merch it up, baby. Watch Reezy resells new video and merch, March and Etsy. I mean, that's the thing. It is because we've got so many amazing people sharing what they do. Like our good friend Margaret, with all her videos on it. And it's like, it's even with all of that, even knowing all of that, it's it's still difficult to move away. I mean, so for example, you know that your eBay is bringing an income in for you, and you've got bills to pay. Your natural response will be to work on your eBay because you know it works for you. And you know that it's tried and tested. And that's such a difficult thing. And I suppose that's something going into the new year we definitely want to do. We definitely want to take those risks and put time in, and it's a hard lesson, but the facts are anything worth doing, you're going to have to invest first. You know,
Yep.
you have to pay to play, guys. You
And
can't just,
time is
yeah,
the big concern, isn't it? You know,
yeah,
to keep going. And the other side of that is the whole, we're talking a lot about merch because it plays into what we do, and it's about there's opportunities everywhere, and where do you
yeah,
go and what do you do? And at the moment we're all talking about merch, and I think, to be honest, Andrea and I have decided we're not going to go there. I think we've made that decision, but we have another idea that's been inspired by it, but just taking it on in a different tack. But
yeah,
I think, yeah, it's difficult because we've said this before. It's like, if I did everything I knew I could make money at, I wouldn't be able to sleep. You know, yeah.
yeah,
And it's where to put your focus and feeling comfortable knowing that you're doing your best at what you're doing at any given time. It's so easy to get distracted by someone who's showing these amazing figures. And I am inspired totally by Jane Callum, but I
yeah.
don't think that's going to be for us.
Well, that's the thing. You've got to choose between all these opportunities, because it isn't just that. I mean, there's people out there who earn really good incomes from like affiliate marketing. There's people out there that earn income still from things like the, Kindle publishing is probably still earning people money. YouTube or streaming or whatever it is. I mean, there's so many different things out there that
Absolutely.
different ways of earning an income, basically. But they all take a lot of time, and they take a lot of invest. That's the investment you put in, is time and probably some money as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I feel exhausted now. Just
Yeah,
thinking
that was,
about it
yeah,
all.
yeah. Well, we can talk about it because we can relax now, because it is a bit. I've started to chill out already. I've just been playing games and stuff now. I'm like,
Yeah, I saw your live stream.
yeah,
I
I'm
dipped
just
in
up like I was up. Let's play. No, I was just trying to figure out streaming on my PC. It's not easy, but
So I
you
was
know,
distracted by Monty. He's just knocked over one of the ski poles and scared the life out of him.
oh bless him,
What did you do? Come here. Come and say hello. Because I think we're
scared.
yeah. Come say hello. He's got a poor shoulder, so he's not.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a bit sorry for himself. Yeah.
oh.
Say hello.
Hello, Monty.
Oh, you smell bad.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we're at 7 past. So should we wrap this one up?
Yep, definitely. Thank you everybody for joining us. Really appreciate all the comments. Have been absolutely fantastic. And yeah, just it's been brilliant.
I was
If
just
you don't
thinking,
see,
just quickly, then
yeah,
next Tuesday. I don't know when that falls. I don't know if we're gonna just skip one or what. Should we see how we feel, or what's
it's
got planned?
it's Boxing Day, isn't it?
Oh, is that Boxing Day? Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
It's Boxing Day.
That's
Yeah,
definitely
so,
not happening.
yeah, Boxing Day is obviously going to be
Oh, of
missed.
course, because yeah, we're not doing our Sunday chat because it's Christmas Eve. So yeah, Monday, yeah, Boxing Day. Okay, we'll have a week off,
And we'll see.
and we'll see you after Christmas.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
definitely, guys. Well, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope everyone gets whatever gifts they're hoping for, and all that
Yep.
jazz.
Yep.
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
Christmas, everyone in the chat, and thank you for your continued support. We both thoroughly enjoy doing these shows, and it wouldn't make any sense without viewers. So you're
Exactly.
what makes this work. So yeah,
Exactly.
we look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Right. See you.
Take care.